everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Afterlife podcast. Today, I have a returning guest. I'm so excited that Rebecca could come back and share her insights with us. If you missed watching her video where we talked about her spiritually transformative experiences, I'm going to include that link in the show notes. Rebecca and I have really connected on and resonated on certain topics, and we really wanted to discuss a couple of things that has been on our heart. Rebecca is an energy healer. She's an angel reader and a pediatric speech language pathologist. So today I want to delve a little bit into her work, what healing means, and I have some questions about being able to practice living in this world where things seem to get very dark. How can we shine our light? Some practical ways. And Rebecca, thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you again, Pooja.
You too, Rebecca. And my first question for you is kind of want to understand what an energy healer is, what you do, and why would that be important?
Thank you so much for asking me that. I'm excited to talk about it. Okay, so I started studying Reiki when I was 23, and I didn't believe in it, but I had done all the healing I could up to that point that was in my worldview, which was talk therapy and therapy groups, and it was cognitive behavioral, and there was other healing and like Western therapy, but I knew something was still wrong. So then I met my Reiki teacher. Even though I didn't believe in it, I could just tell something was helping me. So this was the energetic level that I needed to do, which is what I do in my healing. So maybe you have done a lot of talk therapy or not, but there's still something that can feel off balance. It's kind of, I think of it like taking a shower for your energy. So like we get dirty physically, and this is like a shower for your energy. And it's that's why I like to do it and why I started studying it. And I started studying Reiki, it was 20 years ago. And over that time, I've really honed how I offer it. I call it energy healing now because I do more than just Reiki in my sessions, which I love Reiki. That's the foundation, and it's a beautiful modality. It's very heartfelt and pure, but also I use angels while I'm healing. So that is part of my healings. I'll open up the session and I'll get guidance from your guides and angels to know where to go. And also I'll do messages during the session. That's actually how I started doing my angel readings. I was giving an energy healing, and I heard the person's angels say, "You need to say this to this person." And I was like, I don't want to say that. I'm going to feel embarrassed if I say something like that in the middle of the session. What if I'm wrong? And they're like, "Say this right now." And so I was like, okay, I said it, and it was very helpful and resonant. So I do part of the session usually involves that. And I tune in to see what's going on, and I clear chakras, and we align your energy. We clear out any cords. Cords are an energetic attachment. So I've done that for people with old jobs or old relationships. I can go on. I can keep going. There's a lot of stuff that we do in the sessions. Should I keep going?
Because it's a very vast topic. So it sounds like all this energy work, probably very, the way you describe it, it's like taking a shower, like we wipe off the physical dirt. So this is like all of do you think that our inner wounds or the pain or hurt that we're carrying, that is somehow impacted or affected by this energy work?
That's the goal. Yeah, the goal is to get to those wounds, and I'll do work with, part of that will be the actual energy, but sometimes we'll do a visualization to help access it, also, or just clearing it. So I do feel where different areas need to be cleansed. So and it can really help. But I will say, like I did a lot of energy healing, but the best healing I ever got was God and my spiritually transformative experience, which I do try to bring towards people, because that was like another level of healing. So I do try to embody that when I'm doing my energy healing. So
that's really beautiful, Rebecca. The reason I'm so interested, I'm also in the health and wellness space, and my tools are very physical, right? Nutrition, it's a very, very physical thing. that, we're not just our bodies. It's the full package in an individual. And one of the things that has been on my heart, especially the past few years,
Mhm.
the planet has been going through a lot of shaking. We came out of a pandemic. There's so much grief and loss. Then we hear about the war in Ukraine, then we barely that's still going on. And now we have the war in the Middle East. And, just all this, if you look at the news, we get really depressed very fast, right? It seems like the earth is just falling apart. And, as one of the prayers that I've always really cherished has been the Lord's Prayer. And there's a line in there that says, on earth as it is in heaven. And
Yes.
I've been a hopeless optimist that one day we're going to see our planet go there, become heaven. But when you look around, it feels like we're just moving further and further away. And I believe that one of the reason is our woundedness.
Mhm.
All of our wounds are acting out and playing out. And so to me, heal the individual, heal the collective, right? That's the mantra. So if we can work on healing our personal wounds, right? Maybe the hope is that it will ripple out. So I kind of wanted to get some of your thoughts on that.
That's so beautiful, Pooja. I really do hope that that's the path we're heading towards, is the on earth as it is in heaven. Honestly, as you were talking, I was thinking, well, I love that prayer. I've had dreams where one time I dreamt I was surrounded by a lot of angry people and I was going like just surrounded. And I started praying that prayer. And as I prayed, I rose and rose and rose. And then I ended up in heaven with all these beautiful, happy people. That was kind of like, it was after my STE, but it was kind of a metaphor for what was going on in my life and how great that prayer is.
Mhm.
So I'm going to think part of my STE was I started seeing light inside of everyone, and over my healing journey, I was raised, people were in different categories, and some people were richer and some people were poorer and some people and like different religions. And as I healed and as I had my STE, everyone started seeming the same. They had the same light. I'm not saying we're all the same because we have beautiful differences, but it was like everyone's soul was sacred and I could see that. And I think part of it might be that we need to shift away from seeing all the divisions. I know that's a very simple way to put it, but like I think the woundedness is part of it. And I also think the separation that we're raised in, I think we can all heal past that. And I mean, I don't want to sound naive and I don't want to put anything on these huge, huge conflicts that are so painful.
Yeah.
I know people are really suffering, but I would love for, when I had my STE, that's really the only thing I know to talk about because it's my only experience
Yeah.
everything was so beautiful. People were so beautiful. And I could see heaven on earth during that time. And I could
Mhm.
see the way the angels saw the world. And it was, when I was living within that flow, it just seemed very high vibration. And I think once we start to raise our vibration individually, we can raise it collectively.
Yeah.
And that's like from a place of love, like there's no hatred or fear when you're in that place of love.
Mhm. Mhm. So
Yeah.
how can we, because love is also such a, it sounds like a simple word, but I've been trying to contemplate what it even means. How do you understand love, Rebecca?
Gosh, I don't know. I think I'm always trying to learn about it because there's so many, um, love is everything. I mean, I didn't know love when I started healing, but to really start to feel it and feel God's love, divine love, which is the best kind. I mean,
Mhm.
when I had the dream of the angel at the end of my experience, I really felt how much he loved me and how much I loved him. And it was like the deepest love in my heart that had ever existed. So it's just total joy and love. What is love? I don't know. I would love to know your thoughts. What do you think, Pooja?
You know, I've had a hard time with that one because I used to think that love meant that I could never hurt anybody's feelings or always giving in to what people wanted. But I'm beginning to realize that maybe love just means to not put expectations on people and let them just be who they are.
Ooh,
In
that's
that way, we're not taking offense, right? If we're not taking offense, then I think we're acting in love. I don't know. That's where my head
That's
is right
really cool.
now.
Freedom. It's like freedom. Love
Yeah.
and freedom, I think, definitely go hand in hand. I don't know. Huh. It's interesting questions, big questions, but that when I felt like love in my dreams or in my life, It's definitely an inner feeling in my heart. And
Mhm. It's really I've had some experiences where I've experienced that unconditional love of God very tangibly. It's
yeah.
very hard to describe, and it's even more hard to like one, you can't put it into words, and two, if you walk around with that, sometimes the world doesn't receive it very well
Mhm.
because your motives can be misunderstood or you appear like a crazy person.
I know it is
So
very.
So that's the hard part because I really think that the answer to all this woundedness is love. But when a person is very wounded, they're not able to receive love.
Mhm.
So I don't know where that portal opens up for them, where even for us personally, whatever wounds we're carrying, right? How can we open ourselves to that love?
How can we, Pooja? How did we do it? I hope that humankind can do it. I think we are slowly collectively doing opening to love. And I think every time someone heals and shares what they've learned in any way with their community, with their family, it doesn't have to be an official practice. It uplifts everyone. Forgiveness, kindness in the moment, all of that. The people that come back from NDEs and talk about how it ripples out to everyone, like so many ways. I think that's a big part of it. And I also, at the same time as the world just seems so wounded, it also, what I've heard is that it's also God's perfect plan or something. When people come back and they talk about, oh, I saw how it's all perfect. And I felt that way. I felt how it was all perfect. I'm like, well, it doesn't seem that way right now.
Yes.
And also at the end of my experience, once it all stopped, I was really mad that I was here. As much as I saw how heavenly and beautiful the angels saw the world and God and how beautiful it was, once it all ended, I was like, why am I still here? This place is horrible. That's what I was thinking. Even though I'm talking about seeing the perfection, felt so abandoned by God. I felt like I didn't
Mhm.
want to be here. I knew God's world was really beautiful. And I was like just stuck here on earth where things are hard. But I think that they don't have to be hard. And I think we can change. I do really believe in small changes making a big difference. So
Yes. And
that's
actually that brings me to another question. When you mentioned the angels and the small changes that we could be making, I know there's free will, right? We choose our actions, whether we're going to act lovingly or harshly, but I also believe somewhere that the angels are involved in interventions, right? I
Mhm.
think there's like a dance that we do, whether we understand it or not, right? And at each moment we have a choice we can make. Um, in people that have NDEs, and even you've had those tremendous spiritual experiences, they tell us that the veil between heaven and earth is indeed getting thinner,
Mhm.
right? Because so many people are now waking up to the light inside of us. You see light inside everybody. That's incredible. So despite that happening, it looks like there's still a lot of trauma in this world, and there's still a lot of space where we can work on the healing part. Where can we begin, Rebecca? Let's start with us, right? What
Mhm.
can I do to begin to work on myself to start healing some of the hurts and pains that I've been carrying?
Wow. I think the first thing is would be a prayer to God and to your heart and your angels, just to ask, make an intention that you really want to heal the parts of yourself that are still wounded, and ask for God's help. That's what really, really started me. That's even how I met my Reiki teacher, I believe, because I said I want to heal all the way, and that's when I met different people that helped me before my experience. I think asking for that prayer, or putting that prayer out there, and then I think sitting in meditation is really important, and getting to know your own heart. I was just doing that work honestly before we got on the call, because I got a little upset at someone, and I was looking within. I was like, I don't want to be upset. What's happening here? Like, I know I'm not perfect. He who was without sin can cast the first stone. I'm like working on this a little bit with that. It's interesting. I think we just have to really get to know how we truly feel inside, and when you feel safe in a space of stability, which does help, like just bringing up like, okay, what am I ready to look at inside of myself? What can I heal? And, you know, it can be work with yourself, but also a healer can help, a trusted healer. Everyone has different people that they're going to get along with or like feel comfortable with. Um,
Mhm.
Therapy is also great. And I know it's a lot. Therapy can also be expensive, but I know there's some great organizations out there like working on making it more accessible to people. So
And I know that there's some very beautiful work that you're doing, Rebecca. I follow you on Instagram and you bring very, very inspiring messages from the angels.
okay.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And also, if sometimes I wonder how it would be if we all would be that plugged into our spirit guides, our angels, God, and that be the source from where we're getting so much of our strength. But then there's also, the physical healings where we have physicians and we have therapists. And so there's a lot available to us. It's just sometimes, what we're carrying can be very overwhelming. So if
Mhm.
you're listening to this and watching this and you're really, really struggling with things, I think self-forgiveness is huge. A
Mhm.
lot of times we get stuck in our own healing path because we're not able to forgive ourselves for some
Mhm.
things that we may have done or said.
Mhm.
So it's easier said than done.
Mhm.
Do you have any resources that you recommend, just to sort of calm that inner person and start on
Mm.
that
I didn't
journey?
even think about the resources, but that's funny you bring that up because that was my angel message today was about forgiveness. So I mean, they're always like doing little things like that. So forgiveness is so hard. I remember being in therapy and she'd be like, you need to forgive the people that hurt you. And I was like, I don't know how, like, what even does that mean? But
Yeah,
it is just kind of like reconciling your heart and like bringing it back into a state of balance. For me, it was kind of just letting go of that hurt. That's how forgiveness was for me, letting them go, letting the hurt go, and like understanding that people who hurt me don't believe they meant to. I don't think they wanted to do that. Their higher level selves, like
yeah,
I don't really believe that people are that horrible. After my
yeah,
experience, I think they were wounded too. I really do believe that, and that's really what helped me forgive.
yeah.
So I don't know. In terms of books and resources, there's probably like thousands of amazing, amazing people and teachers and therapists out there. And I'm sad that I can't think of any off the top of my head.
That's okay. I know sometimes because I know I do that. I listen to a lot of different people, read a lot of different books, and sometimes then when I'm trying to think about one, I can't because there's hundreds.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I,
holistic psychologist is really great. I mean, I love spiritual books for forgiveness. So like there's A Course in Miracles and there's
I've
um
heard a lot about the Course
Conversations
in
with
Miracles as
God.
well.
There's just some great, they have, I don't know, and memoirs. I don't know, memoirs are always kind of one of my favorite things, especially now NDE memoirs. Those are my
Yeah, yeah.
favorite.
And forgiving others, that's one thing. But for me, I think the hardest thing is forgiving ourselves.
Mhm.
So I think that's equally important, if not more important. So letting some things go so we can flow freely.
Yeah, and I think, that's where connecting with God and your angels can really help because God already sees and forgives you. And once you can be seen with that true divine love, it really is like a reconciling in your heart, and I think there's like understanding that you didn't have all the information. People that hurt me like now or a long time ago, they didn't. And when I've hurt people, it's the same. I mean, I just was acting out of ignorance, honestly. So
Hmm.
once you see that with compassion, just that maybe if you hurt someone, it was just a part of you, it's like they say, like maybe you were a kindergartner and now you're in third grade, or a senior in high school. Like you wouldn't get mad at a kindergartner for not being able to read a novel. So it's kind of like that.
That's beautifully said, Rebecca.
Thanks.
And that actually brings me to my last question, which is uh, what does the process look like for you when you're working with somebody? So if I wanted to work with you, right,
Mhm.
for energy healing
Yes.
or an angel reading, what would that process look like?
In terms of booking or just the actual session?
The actual session.
Yes. Okay. So most of my energy healing is in person, but I am about to open up sessions for distance sessions. So I'm working on doing that. Mostly my my angel readings are mostly on Zoom or in person anyway. An angel reading, we start with a prayer. We start with like kind of an energy raising meditation. So we get in really in tune with the light. We bring in things that we're grateful for, because the angels exist in a state of love and joy. So I'm just getting us into that place, and then we connect our hearts with the angels. Some of this is what I learned from Suzanne Giesemann, and now it's kind of like my own method for it. But then I ask them to come, and I just start saying what I'm hearing. And every time I do a reading, I'm like going in like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about today. I don't know what's going to happen. And I'll get nervous, and then I'll start saying, okay, this is what I'm hearing. And they're like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. It'll be like the most random things. I don't know. I just hear what I'm going to say. And that's what they need to hear. And I just keep going until, if it's resonating. If it's not resonating, that hasn't happened lately. So, I read for, a while, and then I say, do you have questions? And they'll ask questions, but it's like how it goes. It's like they bring up certain general things, and then they start bringing up like this thing in your family. This is about your job. This is about your partner, your children. And so it's like kind of, they go in a circle of different things normally. But it's always just to heal. It's always to uplift. It's to make sure the person is on the path they need to be on. And it's to let them know they're supported in heaven. Then I think that it's part of the healing. Like, you're not alone. And eventually the goal is that you could get your own connections just as easily, and you don't need me, because I'm still a human filter, and I'm not a perfect person. So I think the goal is that we can all hear our own angels, but we're all here to help each other. So if I can help someone hear a message they need to hear, then I'm really happy for that.
So when you say that, we can hear from the angels as well, right? Like, I know you do readings for people, but um, when you say that we can access them, it doesn't seem like something we do every day, right? So how can we even begin to think about that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I'm going to be offering a training through IANS, the organization that amazingly brought us together, and allowed me to share my story for the first time. So it's going to be starting in January. It'll be the fourth Saturday of each month for 3 months. And it's going to be like, what are angels? What are spirit guides and archangels? And how do we connect with them? And learning just different ways to connect, and helping you find the way that works for you. So you can start to hear from your angels yourself. You're already hearing from them. You just might not realize it. It might seem like a thought in your head, or you might get a little sign that someone says something that is meaningful. So I'm going to be doing that training, and it's a little, there's other people obviously who are amazing that do this kind of training, but this is from an experiencer. So a former total skeptic, absolute skeptic that had a spiritual experience. So that'll be my unique spin on, connecting with the angels, and it's going to be really fun. So hopefully you can come.
That's very exciting. Please let me know when that all rolls out.
So how could someone find you and book a session with you through your website?
Yes. And I have happy news. Well, happy and sad. I'm totally booked up for the rest of 2023 since the podcast came out. So I'm so thankful. I'm going to get to meet some new people and kind of spread joy and love and their angel messages. But yes, I have many openings starting in January 2024, and you can just book on my website, RebeccaKastl.com. It's Kastl, and I would love to see you for that. I've done readings all over the world, and it's really special. So
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you very much. After the first interview I did with you, I felt like I hadn't finished, like we were not done. I felt like I still had some questions. So thank you for coming back and having a conversation with me again. For those who are watching and listening, I will have all of Rebecca's information in the show notes. And I'll also have the link to that first interview where Rebecca describes in detail her spiritually transformative experiences. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.